138 kV is slated to be deconstructed, and they will build the larger monopole through on the same easement, so they say, meaning they do not have to try and compensate the landowner because they're staying within the current easement. The monopole is huge, right next to the 500 kV that's Dominion Electric. So you're going to have a massive amount of noise, EMF, compared to what you have now. Even one of the linemen told me this past week that he didn't like EMF and the noise they made. And I'm like, well, gee, really? Neither do I. So I just went through the experience with this line of having them come on our property to do core drilling. The first day, they had to cancel because the logistics didn't work, whatever that meant. The second day, they drug that piece of equipment in, and they sat there for the rest of the week because it broke, and they never core drilled. Finally, they had to drag it off of the property and left nice big ruts right across areas where I was getting ready to mow for my hay bales for the winter supply of hay for my horses. So I was really happy with them. They didn't like me. I was nice when I went up every day to check on them, but I know individually they were very frustrated. I gave them that credit, but I didn't credit them for being rude to me. So anyway, on to what we're sort of talking about now, Valley Link. I did a little drawing on my plat, so it sort of shows you the possibilities if they take the route through our property. Back when it was stop path, they chose not to go right on my property as best we knew, because we never really knew the final route. But they came right up the eastern border of my property, right next to the house. So my farmhouse would have been buddying up to this huge transmission line, and as far as I knew, I didn't know if it was actually going to be in part of the row or not and have to be demolished. Either way, it was not a good option. So when I drew these routes and I looked at them, because there are three possibilities as I see it on our property. One would be to the west, adjacent to the 138 kV, a new 200-foot right-of-way. The second option could be to the east of Dominion Electric, a new 200-foot right-of-way. The third option could be what we understood was the path route, which would be adjacent to my eastern border, right up next to the house. None of them are good, especially if this is in addition to the Ward Dobbs Goose Creek line. As far as I'm concerned, my property is no longer habitable. I have horses on my property, I have me on the property, and other people on the property helping. It's not, I'm sorry, I don't care what they say, it's not a healthy situation. So, at my age, I just want to be enjoying my property and not be in this fight again, but I'm not that nice, so I'm in it, as busy as I am. And oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent, and I can tell you that when I bought this property, I was not a real estate agent, but nobody seemed to know about path coming through, even though it was already it was already a possibility coming through Shepherdstown, and then they rerouted it over to the southern part of the county. And so I was moving up from DC, so bad for me. I wasn't aware of these things going on. We bought it in the fall of 28, and 29, they flipped the route, and that was my introduction into working with utility companies. Very nice. So what I did here, I don't know that you can really see it, but in red, I've got the right-of-way for the two transmission lines that are there. So my property goes this way, up here, 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 here. Not only am I dealing with the power lines, I've got Norborn Glebe beaten right up to my boundary here and here. So I've got two things going on in my life right now. I've already had a discussion with Norborn Glebe because they ripped up the trees and everything on this border. But, so this is a given. This is right here. This is a 500 kV, and this is a 138. And it is within here that they're going to put the monopole for the large Gore Dobbs Goose Creek. I'm not quite sure how that's going to fit. So on my plat, I've got 150-foot right-of-way and 100-foot right-of-way with a 5-foot overlap. So I'm not sure, who knows, how that's going to work. Then back when we were dealing with the path, it was my best understanding that it was coming up my east border here. My house sits right here. Here's my border. Here's my eastern border. So that's not too good for my house. If it laps over anyway, the house has to go away. This is all within it's wooded, it's got underground water coming through down below. It's very, it's rocky terrain. It's on a rock ledge. And not to mention the George Washington Cave is right over here, of which some of this water is coming out over here. That doesn't really matter to the power line. So that was what I understood as path. So what other options could they do? Well, here's where they could come here and put a 200-foot right-of-way for Valley Link, which is adjacent to the 500 kV. That takes out my barn, all my fields are right in here. I have a run-in shed there. So I lose all the buildings that support and house my animals. The other option is they could come to the east of where they're planning to put Gore Dobbs Goose Creek. That goes up into this 4-acre lot that I own that is probably one of the better places in the future, but after my time, somebody wanted to build a house. So that's going to impact that option, that devalue that 4 acres of land. So none of this is good for me, so I'm not happy. And when we started with Gore Dobbs Goose Creek, I got on my computer, I wrote a letter to First Energy, and I included, and Karen helped me out, it was, I forget what her name is, but she wrote the rules of be nice and engagement to the landowners. You know, this is what you do and what you don't do. So I just packed that up in my letter, sent it back to her, and I said, I hope your people adhere to what you wrote. I also told them, any time you want to come onto our property, 48 hours notice. Because if I'm doing something, like we just cut hay, if I've got something going on with my horses, They can't just show up and say, we're here. They didn't like it, but they did adhere to it. So you can do things like that. You can take some control of this. So don't think they can just come in and do what they want to do. So that's kind of my story right now, and there'll be more to this story, I'm sure. But as Karen, Steve, Sharon, other people here that were with us on Stop Path, we know how to stand up to them, and I learned a few lessons back then when we went through that at the meetings and stuff. So don't feel like you have no control. I can't tell you what the end result's going to be, but at least stand up and fight and give them a run for their money, because it is our land. You know, they keep telling me, well, it's our easement. I said, I don't care. It's my land. I have the deed to that land. I am paying taxes on it. Yeah, you got an easement in, I don't know, this one is in the 60s. I think they were both in the 60s. I didn't sign it, but I did buy it, so it's in perpetuity with the land, so you do have to recognize that. So I don't know if that helps. We need help, so please. And it's not just us individually, it is this county. This county does not need this. We were already undergoing a huge change in this county through the building that's going on, the solar panels that are going on, and now to bring through these two, and there could be more down the road. So pay attention, help when you can, be present, show them that this is not what this county needs, and we shouldn't have to pay to support the data centers in Loudoun County, which are totally out of control, and that's a whole nother story. I'll shut up. Thank you. Those of you who have power lines on your property, please go get the deeds of the easement so you know exactly what they say. So for instance, on my plat, at each easement designation, it tells you the deed book and the page book. So it's not hard to find. Just go down to the county clerk and ask for the deed. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Wonderful. Our next speaker is my neighbor, Mariko Perrin, and she's actually one of the reasons I'm in this fight.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to read because it's easier. My name is Marie Galperin, and I'm a longtime resident of Jefferson County, living at Cave Quarter Estates for 30 years. This project is supposedly an upgrade to the current transmission lines, and the path they are considering is the right-of-way that is adjacent to or perhaps crosses my property. It is my understanding that the purpose for this upgrade is to supply power to Virginia, where there are a large number of data centers that consume large amounts of electricity. I strongly oppose the project for the following reasons. Devaluation of my property and the surrounding properties. These huge power towers will be an unwelcome eyesore and will surely be off-putting to any future potential home buyers in the area. I already have one power tower in my backyard, and I feel another huge tower such as, well, first of all, the 180-foot pole that they are proposing. But if Valley Link comes on my side of the current tower that's on my property, then my house is definitely gone because of the 200-foot right-of-way. The disruption to the plant and animal life will be significant. Additionally, there has been no information as to the actual location of the proposed new line, which would potentially include the 200-foot easement. Several of my neighbors stand to lose their homes if this line goes through. Currently, we are close to the existing lines, experience evidence of electromagnetism emitted by the lines. It is frightening to think of the potential effect of these lines carrying even higher voltages. This project is being pushed through the required channels at top speed, which shows little or no regard for our safety. The project is also being put before the public as if it is a done deal, thereby discouraging the pushback from the community. It is important for all to realize that they do not have the necessary permits yet for this project, and that we have the right to be heard. Despite the obvious cost to the beauty and well-being of our area, Jefferson County residents will get no benefit from this project, as has already been explained to you. It is important to ascertain who stands to benefit financially from these projects, and to be aware that the cost will ultimately be paid by us, with absolutely no benefit to us as individuals nor to West Virginia. I am asking all of our elected officials to stand behind the citizens of Jefferson County and demand that Valley Link seek an alternative solution. And I am urging you to contact the West Virginia Public Service Commission and voice your opposition to these proposed transmission projects. Thank you. That's the end of my statement. I have a statement from one of our neighbors, my next door neighbor, Amelia and James Galloway, who could not be here due to a family emergency, and this is their statement. The planned power line upgrades will have a deeply personal and negative impact on my family, as it will require the use of eminent domain on a home we have worked hard to build and maintain. Losing our property under these circumstances would mean more than just relocating. It would uproot our lives, disrupt our stability, and take away a place filled with memories and personal investment. The emotional stress of being forced to move, combined with the financial uncertainty and difficulty of finding a comparable home, would place a significant burden on our family. This situation would not only affect our sense of security, but also our connection to the community we have grown to call home. Do better. There are alternatives that will cause less impact to the community. With love to the Jefferson County community, the Galloways.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our last speaker is Ms. Pam Gerhardt. After Ms. Pam, Mary G was not able to come, and so we are moving to Ms. Pam. After Ms. Pam speaks, we will be moving on to our Q&A, which I will go over a few ground rules for that. Thank you.
My name's Pam Gerhardt. I live up on the mountain. We moved here in 1987 into a double-wide mobile home, and in 2005 we put up a brand new home by Keystone, and over the years we've done a lot of improvements to the house. We love living here. The Appalachian Trail runs behind us. There's already the 2 sets of power lines that are beside us. They do not have a right-of-way right now on our property. But if these lines come through, with as big as they are and as big of a right-of-way as they need, we are more than likely going to lose our house, because we have a septic system, and we're figuring where the right-of-way would be is where our septic system is right now. And even though we have almost an acre of land, due to the positioning of our house, there's really no other place to go with a septic system. We moved here with the hopes of living here until we retired, and then putting our house up for sale and moving somewhere a little bit warmer. Well, for the most part, we're both retired. We both work part-time jobs right now, but we're pretty much retired. There is no way we can put this house up for sale, because we are gonna have to disclose what is going on. As Robin said, she's a realtor. You have to disclose that. So who on earth would want to take a chance and buy a property that maybe somewhere down the line in a year or two they're going to lose? We don't want this line. You people need to stand up and fight, like's been said before. Even if it's not affecting your property, it's going to affect your wallet. If you think our electric rates are high now, you just wait. So we need to get together, we need to fight. It is not a done deal. We did this once before and we beat them, and if we all stand together, we can certainly do this again.